Good evening, everyone. Let us begin this auspicious event by expressing our gratitude to the Almighty for guiding us and granting us the strength to pursue knowledge and innovation. As we embark on this journey of learning, let us reflect on the profound words of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." These words are a reminder of transformative power of education and the responsibility we carry as educators to inspire and empower future generations. With this inspiring thought, I, Dr. Surya, Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at PSG College of Technology, warmly welcome you all to the inaugural function of 6-day online faculty development program on responsible AI, sponsored by AICT ATAL and hosted by PSG College of Technology. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the management of PSG College of Technology for their constant support and encouragement in organizing such impactful programs that contribute to the professional growth of faculty members across the nation. We are privileged to have the unwavering guidance of our respected principal, Dr. K. Prakasan, who has been a source of inspiration in all our endeavors. Sir, his visionary leadership continues to motivate us to achieve excellence. It is with a great pride and honor that I welcome our chief guest, P.R. Krishnan, formerly Executive Vice President and Global Head, Enterprise Intelligence Automation and Artificial Intelligence from TCS. Now I would like to introduce our chief guest to the audience. Sir was Executive Vice President and Global Head, Enterprise Intelligent Automation and Artificial Intelligence at TCS until December 2020. His role has helped business and technology leaders drive innovation and integrate digital technologies, especially in the domains of AI, smart automation, machine learning, and cognitive computing, into their business model for growth and transformation. In his career, spanning 40 years, he incubated several new practices, including cloud, AI, infrastructure services, BPO, and telecom, into large-scale business for TCS. He strategized innovations that drive human mission collaboration that serve as the guiding force for elevated growth and business 4.0 era. He is a person behind the strategic initiative in TCS using a mission-first approach across client engagements to institutionalize adoption of digital technologies like automation, analytics, IoT, and AI. His team created new opportunities for enabling the world's leading enterprises to become AI ready. For more than 35 years, he has played a pivotal role in coaching large teams, demonstrating thought leadership and innovation towards uncovering insights and creating exponential value for large enterprises, incubating the telecom, BPO, and IT infrastructure business within TCS. Prior to leading the EIA and AI portfolio, Sir has served as Global Head of IT Infrastructure, Cloud and Cybersecurity Services, overseeing the expansion of his TCS services portfolio to close to 3 billion USD business over a period of 12 years. Earlier part of his career, he successfully led several TCS global delivery centers, especially creation of company's global network delivery model for GE and the other large customers for TCS. He was also responsible for creating and running the telecom delivery centers for TCS, while he built 3,000 plus strong business unit, servicing over 40 customers, growing the practice in a time when the telecom industry was just beginning to embrace technological advancements. He has contributed significantly towards leading a very successful SCI CMM Level 5 assessment that became a new benchmark and model across TCS at the turn of the century. Currently, he is actively involved in advising, guiding mid-size and startups and product companies to scale, transform, and innovate. Additionally, he is also actively involved as a member of Executive Council and Secretary of Fortress, an association of former employees of TCS who have come together with a vision to give back to the society. The four areas of Fortress are education, environment, health, art and culture, driven by technology where possible. We are deeply grateful for your gracious presence today, sir, and looking forward for your address. And now I would like to thank Dr. G. Sudha Sadasivam, Professor and Head of the Department, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity for coordinating this FDP, online FDP for 6 days, basically based on responsible AI. Ma'am, your proactive approach and enthusiasm has been instrumental in making this event a reality. Lastly, a warm welcome to all the participants who have joined us across the country. Your enthusiasm to learn and grow is a cornerstone of this FDP, and we are confident that this program will be a rewarding experience for all of you. I welcome you all, and now I would like to hand over the session to Krishnan sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction, Dr. Surya. And thank you, everybody else who have joined this session. It is indeed my pleasure and privilege to be addressing this elite gathering of professors, lecturers, and makers of India of tomorrow. I start this session with a bit of trepidation, not because that I don't like responsible AI. In fact, I'm fascinated by the possibilities of AI and what the future holds for all of us, given the potential of this wonderful technology. Or it's not a single technology, it is a collage of technologies. The trepidation comes with the feeling that we as a human race, every time we come up with something fascinating and revolutionary in the technology and science space, we promptly come up with the darker side of this space too. Be it the nuclear energy, be it the internet, be it the social media, and of course now AI. We as technologists who are the custodians of the technology which defines the future, have a responsibility to ensure that these technologies are put to use for the good of the human race. I think that's where our responsibility is. It is not just about playing with the technology, but ensuring that we protect our people, our society, our community, and the nation at large against the bad use of these technologies. If you go to the next chart, please, I just want to dwell a minute on this as part of this inaugural address. So this is where I start about the AI incidents. What prompted us to talk about AI, responsible AI? I think that's a very important question, which I want to address during the inaugural session, and then I will get into greater details of the processes in the next session. So if you look at this page, you would see that there are certain aspects of AI which have been used for wrong purposes. Like a deep fake CFO scam cost the company $25 million. Financial services is one space where AI is used profusely. In fact, I have got my friends working on predicting the stock market movements using sentiment analysis and many other AI technology, which essentially works at the speed of light. So it is faster than the way which the stock market will move, and they're able to predict it in a few nanoseconds. What is the likely price of this particular stock going to be? So these are things which are being developed using AI. And anything wrong, anything which goes wrong because the AI is faster than you, it costs you a fortune. The second one is about the chatbot for DPD malfunction. So these are all terrible things to hear when we talk about AI. While we are all thrilled about using this technology, we actually use it on a daily basis in different form. We use it for our banking. We use it for our stock market trading. We use it for our shopping. So it has become very common for us to be using applications which are actually having AI embedded in it. And so anything which the app can behave wrongly will lead to three things: personal loss, a reputation loss, and a financial loss. So this is where we have to be careful, and also the aspect of responsible AI comes in. Today we stand at the forefront of a technological revolution. Nobody can deny that. One that promises to reshape our world in way we do our things. You can only start imagining that today. Artificial intelligence or AI is no longer a concept for the future. It is here and it's staying with us. It is transforming every aspect of our lives. But with great power comes responsibility. As we harness the potential of AI, we must also ensure that it is developed and deployed responsibly. I am highlighting the word responsible again and again because while that is the topic of the day and that is something we want to discuss in detail, the responsible AI is about more than just creating intelligent system. It is about embedding your ethical principles into the very fabric of AI development. It is about AI systems are transparent, unbiased, accountable. These are very, very critical aspects of AI. And we have to ensure that we are able to build trust in the AI solutions we deploy in the daily lives of people within organizations and within the nation. So, with this short introduction, I would like to talk about what exactly are we going to do about it. It is about creating a formal governance process. All of us are aware that we use governance in our day to day corporate life, whether it is the original ISO 9000 for operations, whether it is a CMM level 5 for software development. So, we are all used to bringing in frameworks which will discipline the way we work, whereas those were predominantly on the software development life cycle and in the areas of running the operation smoothly. I think responsible AI is slightly more complicated. Why is it more complicated? Because responsible AI is going to look at just not one aspect of software development or one aspect of operational issues. It is going to talk about how do we bring in the data from different sources, because if you look at today's world, you bring in data from images, you bring in data from emails, you bring in data from social media, you bring in data from videos. So you name it, you got data in all forms, and it is the responsibility of the organization to ensure that the data we get in are cleansed, filtered, analyzed before is actually put into use. And in the process of doing all this, you are exposing the different aspects of your IT to vulnerabilities. So it is about the data being fair. When you say fair, data should not be. I was taking a class for a set of students some time back in one of the colleges, and I was giving them an example that I used to do a project for one of the retail customers in UK, where I said that we were asked to sort out the dresses because it was a retail shop which was selling dresses for kids. They said you sort out this because it was being done manually. Can AI ensure that you sort out these dresses according to the size, shape, and the gender of the person who is going to buy it? We said okay. So he actually gave us some rules to follow. He said with collar, it belongs to someone. This is short sleeve, this is long sleeve. This is blue color, this is pink color. Pink belongs to girls, blue belongs to boys, he said. So what was wrong with that statement? The data is going to be created by us. Who in the world told that pink belongs to girls and blue belongs to boys? That is called the bias. Someone has put it in our mind that these are the two colors which get segregated depending upon whether you are a boy or a girl. So this is an example. I gave a very simple example, but this could have very serious connotations when you actually start building such data sets into your system. Just to give you that how the human biases get inbuilt into the system you're going to develop, and AI is going to classify your data based upon the biases you have in your mind. Recruitment is another important thing, which where people recruit people based upon their biases. Oh, if he is not coming into the interview properly dressed, clean, not cleanly shaven, you reject him without even questioning whether he's got the qualifications required for the job. You embed this kind of a bias into your system, then your recruitment process is wrong. Someone has to tell you about it. So, what is today human biases cannot be carried on into the AI systems you are building tomorrow. These are the kind of AI incidents which happens and which will happen even without you knowing because you got your own biases. So this is something which is become extremely critical now, and responsible AI governance of AI solutions has become the most important aspect, and that is why this particular course, which we are going to inaugurate today, is extremely important for people or the students who are going to come to your classes and shape their future around this particular technology. And we, as their guide and professors and lecturers, have a responsibility to ensure that they go down the right path of building AI systems of tomorrow. And the biases, the fairness, the transparency, and the robustness are built into these systems. And we have to teach them now so that when they get into the corporate world tomorrow, they carry the right things and they also respect the governance on AI. Why is the governance and the processes and the disciplines you're going to define is important? If you look at the way we have developed ISO 9000 or CMM level 5, once it goes to scale, what happens is people start doing it as a procedure. What happens, the spirit behind why certain things are being done in the ISO 9000 or in the CMM level 5 processes are lost in our eagerness to comply to the process which have been defined and documented. We just follow it by rote. It's our education system. We learn everything by rote. Even when it comes to process compliance, we start doing that. Whereas in AI governance, it cannot be done. It has to be top-down driven. So that is something we will talk about as we get into the next phase of this particular session. So given the importance of AI governance, there is only one principle I would like to highlight here is that it has to be driven top-down. The message has to come from the board, from the CEO of the organization, and then you drive it down to ensure that people who are going to implement it and deploy it get the message and they know the seriousness of responsible AI and how do we govern that within your organization. Because one has to remember it will do harm to the individual, to the community, to the organization, and to the larger society. So it is important that we follow those processes sincerely and diligently. I declare this session as open, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to inaugurate this session. I hand it over back to you, Dr. Surya.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm very happy that a very great expert has inaugurated this FDP on responsible AI. We are very much privileged to have you on board. And now I would like to call Krishnan sir again for starting session 1. It's my very privilege to call you back, sir. And over to you now.
Thank you. So when you go to the next chart, please. So I just thought before I talk about responsible AI, just to bring everyone on this audience to the same page, I will give a brief overview of AI and talk about some of the terminologies which we will use as we go forward in this. So one is about what is AI. So AI is not one single technology. It is a constellation of technologies is the word I've used here. It is a set of methods, set of algorithms and technologies. And it is not static, it is continuously learning. Unlike the previous uh, cases where we used to write programs, a program when you write it behaves in a certain way and it stays that way throughout its life cycle. Whereas here, the AI algorithms, the programs, and the data. So it's important for us to note that AI is not one thread. AI is made up of a set of algorithms. AI is made up of a set of data and a set of methods and a set of technologies. All will have to work in consonant to ensure that we get a output which we desire. It mimics cognitive functions like comprehending, expressing, perceiving, articulating, remembering, organizing, and reasoning. It also amplifies human capabilities. So, what do I mean by that? That means it can do things faster than you can do. That's an important thing. If it is a repeatable work, it can do much more faster, much more accurately because it does not have fatigue, it does not forget things, it recalls data perfectly. It will quickly do it without fatigue. So these are the characteristics of AI. Now let's go to the next page, please. So this is important for us to note. I'm sure all of you know about it, but just to quickly recap the AI terminologies. If you look at this chart, you will find that as I start at the top with machine learning.
We request the participants to mute yourself.
If, if anyone, everyone can go on mute, please.
Ye- Yes, sir, muting the participant.
Yeah. So if you look at this chart, I have put it in a way that machine learning is actually the simplest form of AI. It's a subset of AI. Then you go to supervised learning, then unsupervised learning. Just to give you that machine learning is about statistical learning algorithms to build systems. So it does not it does not have the ability to uh, continuously improve at a large scale. It is the starting point of where you start learning AI, build systems which can be improved with iterations. That is machine learning. Supervised learning is where the data which the machine learning algorithms will process are labeled, which means if you label, like I said last time, pink color and the blue color are labeled. Anything which is labeled blue will be classified as blue things. Anything which is labeled pink will be classified as pink things. That is called supervised learning. That means you are controlling the algorithms in such a way that they will do the right thing according to what you have labeled them. It will not do on its own. Whereas unsupervised learning is where about the data by inferring patterns. That means it will continuously consume data and see some commonality between the items which is sorting and then classify them according to what it feels there is a similarity between two different objects. That is called unsupervised learning. So it has to be very carefully done. It has to be done with a larger set of data to become accurate. That's what unsupervised learning is. Reinforcement learning is a machine learning algorithm. What does it do? It's about an agent learns from an interactive environment. It is doing a trial and error methods, continuously iterative, and then start feeding the experiences and activities according to that. So that is reinforcement learning. That means it says, okay, this is what it is. And next time it encounters that, it reinforces the fact that what he had done first time is correct, or what he has done first time is wrong, so he'll correct it. So that's how the trial and error process works in the reinforcement learning. Deep learning is much more complex. It was inspired by the structure and function of the brain, specifically the interconnecting of many neurons. Deep learning is basically mimicking the human brain. So it's the most complex form of writing AI algorithms using deep learning. The next one, which has evolved over a period of time, is natural language processing, which is interesting. We will come to the later part of Chat GPT and all that, but the starting point is NLP, natural language processing, where the computers are able to understand your natural language, the way you speak. So our compilers were all designed for learning a particular language in a particular syntax and semantics. Whereas natural language processing has gone one step ahead and ensured that you are able to understand the natural way a person talks and the computer is able to understand it. So it does what how you and me understand the language the computers are able to do today. Computer vision is the most complex part of this whole. As you see the stack moving down the chain, it is much more, as we go down, it's becoming more and more complex. Computer vision is about being able to read images, being able to read fax machine. When you used to send invoices by fax, right? We had developed AI systems where the faxes were read by us and the text was read out of that fax and embedded in a SAP system in the particular field where it belongs. Remember, the fax is a graphic image. We scan it and it becomes a set of pixels. From that, we have to identify the text data and then the numeric data and populate the database accordingly. So those are the kind of complex things we can do. Much more complex would be being able to process videos and digital images. So that's how the whole technology has moved from what it started as machine learning to what it can do with images. So what happens now? What started out as a simple algorithm to process data, which is alphanumeric, it has come to a stage where it is processing images. The more data it is, now the size of the data sets are growing exponential. So these are the important things you will have to learn deep into AI for you to become an expert in AI. I'm sure all of you know about it, but I just thought to bring all of us on the same page, I'll introduce this. Next, please. So what's the big deal now? What has changed in the past 15 years? Because in TCS, when I was working, we started talking about AI in our R&D in 1980s, and it started as early as 1950. So suddenly, this past 15 years, we are seeing a revolutionary change in the development of AI algorithms. So what's new? Fundamentally, there are three or four things which has changed. One, the access to unlimited computing power. Number two, the cost of storage had dramatically reduced. 2010, I used to buy storage for $1, a particular quantum of storage. Today, it is in decimals of cents. That is how dramatically this storage cost has decreased. And like I said last time, the explosion in data that is digitized. So it is not just alphanumeric, but it is also about images, photograph, video streaming, whole bunch of them.
డ్రెస్సా కింద డ్రెస్సా
Participants, kindly mute yourself. It is disrupting the whole
சரி
session.
ஒரே செகண்ட் வந்துடுறேன்
Sir, I'll mute them meanwhile.
குளிக்கணும்
Kindly mute yourself.
Friends may please mute.
Kindly mute yourself. Yes, sir. I'm sorry for the interruption. You can continue now.
Yeah. So that is what has changed in AI. That's why you see the dramatic improvement in the AI kind of algorithms, kind of systems, kind of capabilities we have been able to develop in the past 10 years. It's a hockey stick improvement which has happened in this space. Next page, please. So this is the next stage of evolution. So what did we do in the last, when we talked about different aspects of AI, was about using existing data and do something about it and infer something about it, analyze it, and then take action on it. That's what we said when we say machine learning or deep learning or everything else. What does Gen AI and LLM done to us? Generative AI is a form of artificial intelligence that swiftly creates content in response to prompts. So the difference here is creates content. A content which did not exist is created. That's what Gen AI is. It learns from existing artifacts, fine, to generate new realistic artifacts to scale. So that's an important difference. So today, now we are going into a space where the AI is generating new capabilities, new artifacts at scale. It produces like your media, your advertisement, your writing, writing of stories, creating blog pages. These are all become automated today. All of us use by nature we go to that for generating a new write up about a particular technology. So novel content, images, video, music, speech, text, software code, and productivity. So what happens to this? Can you think about the consequences of doing such things? That AI is competing with you as an artist, competing with you as an author, competing with you as a musician. That is very, very scary. What is the outcome of such a behavior? The outcome of such a behavior is copyright, privacy intrusion. So just park it there. I just want to highlight it here to say, yes, the capability is very impressive, is amazing where we are going with this technology. Another important thing you have to note in this page is uses AI foundation models trained on unlabeled data. So when I say foundation models, the way we used to work in olden days, C++, as we call it, object-oriented methodology was there. You create one object and instantiate it into another application which you are developing for a particular system. That if that object is good, the testing of that object gets minimized. You are repeating the same code again and again to build a larger system. That's what object-oriented methodology was. The parent will inherit the child's, the child will inherit the parent's characteristic. Foundation models are nothing but the models which have been created by some of the large players like Azure, AWS, Google, to name a few. So the foundation models you can reuse into building your own systems. And it is trained on unlabeled data. So what is the warning sign here? Warning sign is if there is one problem in a foundation model, the system you are building will become flawed. Keep that in mind again when we start talking about responsible AI. And the next one is uses NLP, ML, and image recognition to respond to prompts. So a lot of you are used to using ChatGPT. ChatGPT is nothing but generative pre-trained transformer model. And what does it use? It uses LLM. So there is something called large language model. There is something called small language models. It is built on ML, specifically a type of neural network called transformer. It's just the name they have given it as transformer model, because this transforms and creates a new system, new capability, which was not there in the original capability. It's like the caterpillar evolving into a creature, and it has no resemblance to the caterpillar which was originally the uh, species which evolved. And what you got as an output is completely different from where it evolved from. That's the kind of capability LLM allows you to build. So you can look at some of these things where you call text generation, translation, content generation, summarization, question answering, creative write-code generation, chatbots, virtual assistants. So this is where I end the overview of AI. In a nutshell, what would have taken me another one full day or maybe a course for a semester, I compressed it into a 20-minute capsule for everybody to kind of, I'm sure most of you are AI experts here in this. Some of you are aware of it, some of you are learning it. So you know what is uh, the width of the things which we have to study to really understand AI. Next page, please. Can I give the question and answer session at the end of it, please? Is it okay?
Sir, anything is fine for us. In case if you want to do in intermediate between your session, it is also fine for us, sir.
Yeah, I'll just give a break after I complete this couple of charts. And then
Okay, sir.
one before I enter into responsible AI processing governance. Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's fine for us.
So then, so what has AI done today? It has kind of penetrated all industries. I think retail is missing in this chart. Retail has probably got the maximum impact of AI. It is there in banking and financial services, food and safety, manufacturing, insurance, you name it, AI would be there. It's important for us to understand that we will, whichever job you are in, you will end up using AI. Either you use AI, or you develop AI, or you deploy AI. And the horizontal side, which I call it the middle one, is the technologies and processes which are also having AI. Decision support systems, automation, risk assessment, predictive analytics, personalization, natural language processing, quality control, customer service. These are some of the places where it is abundantly used. Why is it abundantly used? Is there are low risk industries, there are high risk industries. I would say the low risk industries are where you are doing a repeatable job again and again, and you just want to, like BPO industry is the maximum affected by the repeatable aspect of a process, a business process. Ideal candidate for bringing in automation, bringing in AI. Why do I need AI? Because I would read non-linear, or what you call as images and fax machines and email to read it and then convert it into something sensible and then populate your corporate database or your enterprise database. For us to do the downside processing, a payroll could be one, or it could be invoice processing, it could be loan processing. These are things which are the low hanging fruit from an AI perspective, and these are all um, now very common in the industry for people to use AI and automation, and of course analytics and insights. So the way you have to look at this whole space is, don't look at AI in isolation. There is a data component. The data has to be ingested into your enterprise systems, and it has to be ingested in such a way only sensible data gets into it. If you bring in junk, AI will also produce junk. So be careful about it. So you use data analytics to analyze the data which is coming. Before you actually analyze, you do some cleansing to remove all the noise in the data and bring in clean data. Once you have the clean data, then you analyze it. Once you have analyzed it, then you start processing it for the function you want to develop. That's how you should. The data ingestion itself is a big space. That's why you can talk about analytics and insights, because now you having got clean data, you will start looking at patterns in the data to say, this is what is actually used in business, banking, financial services, and insurance space. Looking at the data, they'll make predictions about the stock market movement. Looking at the data, they can make about look at if you look at my company TCS, looking at our past performance for the past 8 quarters, the CFO can actually predict this is how our performance is going to be for the next 8 quarters. And if there is any course correction to be taken, he has got every quarter to make course correction to meet what his target is. So that's where it is being used by corporates to monitor their performance, take corrective action, and improve their performance. So, banking, financial services, finance, and accounting are very good ones. Marketing and advertising is the other place which has got immensely impacted by AI, and all of you know about it. Another thing is, of course, logistics, transportation, and travel and hospitality. The reason I want to bring in logistics and transportation is, if you look at logistics and transportation, healthcare and pharma, logistics and transformation, if anything goes wrong, it might affect the global supply chain. If you look at any of the semiconductor manufacturers or the cell phone manufacturers, something gets done in Japan or Taiwan or China, something gets assembled in US, or something gets assembled in Europe or India. Supply chain is now right across the globe, right from the east side of our of where we are to the west side of where we are, right from Japan to US. That's how the supply chain is spread across. And any mistake in your AI algorithms is going to affect the supply chain. If you take healthcare and pharma, it is, in fact, jokingly, my wife used to say, "Why are you taking calls in the middle of the night? Is anybody dying?" is what she used to say. But today, it is actually a reality. AI is being used in healthcare and pharma. Anything which goes wrong is going to affect the lives of the patients, or it could affect the lives of a community. So that is how serious AI applications are, and we have to be aware of that. I just want to highlight that possibility. And can you go to the next chart, please?
Shall I move to the next slide, sir?
Yeah, next chart. Then we can. I'll just pause there for.
Yeah.
I'll just park here, and if I can ask, leave the floor open for questions, maybe for the next 5 to 10 minutes.
I request the participants to raise the queries. Either unmute yourself and ask, or you can put it in the chat window so that I'll post the questions to the sir.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my question is that do you think currently recommendation system is one of the application of machine learning, and because we know that cutting with the cutting edge technologies, companies have a neck to neck competition, so they definitely want a more penetrating market. So do you think that how LLM or generative AI will impact the recommendation system field?
A recommendation system for, beg your pardon?
Sir, do you think how generative AI and currently changing LLM, basically LLM and generative AI will impact the recommendation system scenario?
Yes. Recommendation system in any particular domain you want to talk about, or generally
No, sir,
also?
I'm general, in general.
Yeah. So one of the important first coming, let me clear the point on LLM. So large language models require a lot of data, a lot of storage, and one of the important aspect of large language models are they are basically worked on huge amount of data to create what we call the foundation models, and these foundation models essentially build up the large data set which are required for you to use for your algorithms or your recommendation algorithms, if that's what you're looking for. So larger the data set you are processing, the more accurate will your recommendations be, right? Now, as a corporate, if you take as an enterprise,
Okay,
what
sir.
happens in such enterprises is that they are very conscious of not using data which is not in their network, which means the algorithms which are available in public or with the large providers like Google or AWS, I may not want to use them because it is bringing in data outside of their network and which is not useful for them, they may feel. So, which means I'm restricting the data available for me to process, which means our recommendation will be less accurate than when we use large language models. That is how you make a decision on where do you want to park yourself, whether you want to use large language models and then make the prediction much more recommendation much more accurate, or you are happy with your corporate, that is enterprise database, the data available within your organization because that is your business. Why should I look out for things which are beyond my control? Did I answer your question, please?
Yes, sir, perfectly. I get your point, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Because it becomes very expensive for some of the companies to afford large language models using these large data sets. So they make some
Yes, sir.
prudent choices. Just to give you an example, sir, when we were working on one of the large CPG company like PNG or equivalent, don't just take it as an example. So PNG products have a lot of comments on your. It's available on the internet. You scroll through the internet and look at what are people commented on the CPG products and give it back as a feedback to the company saying, this is what people are saying about your product and this is what is not good or not bad. So we crawled umpteen amount of data within the space available for us to access, which means they are publicly available data, and give them a customer feedback. So it is not just a
Okay.
customer feedback as a process, but we used AI to generate those kind of models for them, which they can use it for their own purpose. Just an example of how they used large language models for their benefit because they could afford it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other
Got it,
questions?
sir. Got it.
Thank you.
Got it, sir.
Thanks for your active participation, Manoj Yadav, sir. The others can also feel free to express your query so that sir will answer you.
One of the data points people may want to remember before when we go into this responsible AI part of the presentation, is the
Uh,
data is. Yeah, sorry.
Krishnan, sir, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
Um, there is a question from the chat window from Dr. Saravanan. His query is generative AI versus deep learning model. So he wants a comparison between the Gen AI and deep learning models.
Yeah. So The fundamental change with, can you go back to the GenAI chart for the reference? Dr. Surya, go back.
Sir, I'm moving. You,
Yeah,
is it fine
leave
now?
it there, leave it there, yeah. So the fundamental why GenAI caught up like fire is because it uses deep learning algorithms only. But the important aspect of Gen AI is also about existing artifacts. That means it is using large language models if it requires for the functions it has to do, number one. Two, it is using AI foundation models which are unlabeled. That means the richness of the data on which it is working is very high. And the algorithm which we will use is deep learning algorithms and NLP and image recognition. It's a combination of all these things. So it is not about one for the other. Deep learning is a mechanism by which you will write algorithms for Gen AI. So how is Gen AI different? Is because using these artifacts from the foundation models or from the existing data which has been collected as a large data set, it generates new content. It's like saying you take the Lego blocks and create a new structure which could be different from what is recommended standardly by Lego. I'm just making it very simple, but that's how Gen AI has become very popular because you are able to create new content. If you have to write a book on any particular subject, Gen AI helps you write that book. You give them pointers and it'll essentially create the text or the content for the book, or it could be a blog you are writing, it creates it. And all of you, I'm sure, are using what is available as in Bing and Google for us. You can test it out very easily, and it does everything which I have given here. More difficult part is code generation. Code generation comes from the fact that given the problem statement, it is able to generate code in a particular language. But it need not necessarily generate it. It will give you recommendations that this is how you can write the code. That's what somebody asked about the recommendations. Recommendations is the outcome when you don't want them to do the work for you. So Gen AI is not about Gen AI versus deep learning model. Deep learning is the algorithm which you will write to generate, to create Gen AI capabilities for any one of the applications which you feel is important. Did I make it clear? Because when sorry.
Saravanan sir, I hope so. Sir has answered your question. Yeah, he has responded back, sir, stating that yes, and he has thanked you for the same.
So more importantly, you have to understand that when I say generative pre-trained transformer as GPT, Chat GPT is nothing but it is using pre-trained transformers. That means these are models trained on foundational, trained on existing data sets which are huge. So look at large language model working on large data set. That's why it's called large language models. It's not as if you're writing a program. It's about the models which you're using against large data. That means you're exercising that model against larger and larger data sets. So the model becomes more and more accurate. That's how it developed. That's how it has been developed. Not when I said you may be exposed to aspects of copyright, we'll come to all those later. Exposed to copyright issues, you may be exposed to inaccuracies or biases. If someone has developed the data set in US and you apply it in India, it may be not applicable to an Indian. I have had this situation with some of our projects where we use data which was an application developed in the US and using data in the healthcare industry. And you try to apply it in India, it will not work. Too dangerous. So we have had such kind of risks exposed when we start using data which don't apply to a particular country, particular community, particular class of people. So
Sorry for interrupting, sir. There is one other question. Can I uh, read
yeah,
out the question, sir?
yes, I'm seeing it. How do the Gen AI
Uh,
systems handle uncertainty, complexity, and decision making? So Gen AI systems do not handle uncertainty. It handles complexity. when it is not sure about it. In fact, I have had some funny responses from some of the Gen AI apps we had written, where it will say that I will be 90%, it might be correct. So the 10% risk is taken by the developer or the deployment person. I think this is an important question you have asked, sir, that this will define actually what your responsible AI framework should be doing. When it does come across an uncertainty, when it does come across a complexity, the human intervention has to be there to decide. It will give you options, it will give you approximations, it will give you a percentage of correct answer. Then the responsibility, that's why the word responsible becomes very important. The responsibility shifts to the human being. You have to take it away from the system. I'm not saying it will not handle uncertainty. It will provide outcomes which will not be very clear. It will just say that it could be 50% right or 60% right. Because we used to get this kind of processing outputs from our Gen AI system, which will say for 40% accuracy, we can strongly say this is what will happen. 60 customers will say, I am not good enough. It has to be in 100%. They will say 100% cannot be achieved by some of these AI systems which are being developed, because the guy who wrote the model will protect himself by giving that allowance of error to be allowed. When you come to the responsible AI framework, you will see that the accountability is a critical aspect of responsible AI. We'll talk about it when we come to that. At that time, I will answer this question. I mean, answer further this question, sir.
Participants can raise your queries.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
So my question is whether AI will make any impact in the decrease of faculty members in education system, sir?
Uh, Degrees, you're saying?
Faculty members, staff
Faculty.
members,
Are you saying
faculty,
whether the degrees will get impacted?
faculty members, sir. Actually,
Whether
teachers.
this will reduce the faculty requirement. That's what he was.
Yes, 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 sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's where the faculty members have to catch up. So it's important for us to understand that the impact of AI on education, which is a separate vertical in many of the organizations which are working on creating content for education, is likely to impact how much help can the faculty can give to the students. The faculty's role will move from being a teacher teaching from the textbook to it will move to a guide and a mentor to the students. I firmly believe that the human touch has to be there for the students to shape his thought process as he moves forward, because there is a responsibility for the faculty to develop the students in the right way and not go all over the place. So, what will be the role of the faculty in the future when education of a particular subject is driven by systems which are available? I have deployed systems in schools. I think Dr. Keshav Swami is aware. We have developed an app which will go and assist the teacher in teaching schools. The same thing applies to colleges. We will develop systems which will assist the faculty coach students better than what it is doing today. Because today your teaching methodology is dependent upon a source which is not changing. What AI can do is it can continuously upgrade your source, so that when you teach the students next, let's say you take a class this year on some subject, next year you go take the same class, your your content will get upgraded. That means you have to be prepared for the upgrade of your course content also. That is what will happen. There is going to be a continuous upgrade of the course content you are delivering to your students, which means you have to be one step ahead of the students. So when they come from third year to fourth year, you have to be prepared that certain things might have changed. So how do we ensure that my students get the current model? If the old notes will not help, the new notes will have to be upgraded, and it will all be available for you online. So it is
Thank, thank,
important that faculty is continuously upgrading itself. Yeah.
thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
It's a race you have to be aware of.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Understood, sir.
Participants, you can raise your queries. Active participation is appreciated. We have 142 participants over there in the link. Kindly post your queries to sir.
Can you go back to the previous chat? I just want to make one comment. Yeah, I have one question here.
Is this? Am I right, sir?
No, previous one. Where I had all the stack. The previous one. No, the previous. No, you are going forward. Going
I'm
back.
sorry. I'm sorry.
What is the hardware spec needed in the future AI? Go back. One more chat. I'll leave it
Is
like
it?
this. I just want to, well, for the previous question, I want to answer this.
Oh,
So,
great,
what
sir.
the hardware spec needed in the future? So, what has happened in the hardware side is just mind boggling. If you look at NVIDIA, what it has done, it has beaten Intel. Intel was a master from early 1970s. When I graduated or I was studying, I studied 8085 microprocessor, where it started, and it was a leader for almost 30 to 40 years. What NVIDIA did is there are two things they did. One is they were able to process much faster. They were able to create chips for a they used to measure chip capability or density of a chip by nanometers. So when
Yes.
Intel was doing 10 nanometers,
Correct.
9 nanometers, NVIDIA jumped to 3 nanometers. What does it mean? The compute power becomes heavier, the storage capacity becomes better. That's what the AI hardware spec change at the chip level. Now, when you assemble a cloud is nothing but a data center where you've got huge amount of storage and CPUs, right? All of you are aware of it. The spec needed in the future would essentially be in terms of what kind of speed you need to process, what kind of storage you need. That's how today you want to create a cloud infrastructure for a customer. We essentially provide specifications to say that I have to manage this workload, which could be running on SAP, it could be running on Oracle. Tomorrow, I'll have to say I can run these AI algorithms on certain amount of hardware. I need NVIDIA chip. I cannot run it using Intel chips. I don't need AMD. I need certain amount of capability. That is how the specifications are written today, which is entirely different from what I used to write in 2000, as late as 2010 or 2015. We used to say storage capacity required, speed of the process is required, and the capacity of the storage required, and the speed of the connectivity between storage and uh, uh, server. So, what kind of speed is required to specify the performance of that particular workload? By workload, I mean it could be an SAP, it could be Oracle, it could be any application which is going to run on that hardware. So, we will specify it with the capacity, speed, and capability of the processor, the storage, and the communication, the network. Today, it is completely changed. It has gone to the lowest level, which is the chip. The speed of a chip, when you go buy a laptop, all of them will start specifying the model of the chip they are using, because that's the main thing which is driving the speed at which the algorithms can be processed. So the hardware spec will has already changed. It's not future, it is there today. That's the answer to your question. Just for the previous question, I want to show this chart for you to understand. When I wrote this one below the other, one is not mutually exclusive to the other. I've just showed this for the complexity, how it keeps increasing from machine learning to supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, deep learning. So if you see the complexity of the lower three, deep learning, NLP, vision, are the most important change which has happened in the evolution of these AI technologies, that you are able to see the chat GPT kind of things coming up. So this particular evolution has driven the capabilities to a different level. I just wanted to make that point for the previous question, uh, because you asked about AI, deep learning, and chat GPT. So yes, please.
So we have the other question here. Whether any computer language knowledge is needed to get into LLM.
So currently, most of the students are learning Python as one language, and a couple of other languages are there. I can send it to you as a reference. A few of them are there, which are specifically focused on developing large language models. But large language models, you have to understand, is about exercising the foundational models on a large amount of data. So that it's a mechanism of, it's not about writing a program. It is about the mechanism of how do you build a model which is trained with better input data. You have to understand that LLM, don't confuse it with a Python kind of language. It's not that. It's about large language models or models which have been developed using the foundational models which the supplier gives, and you want to develop more complex systems. Yes, there will be a language that links all the modules to make it work, but it's not about the programming. It's about making the model. Like when I was asked to develop something for a retail customer, we used to use more and more data to run our algorithm. The algorithm would be written in a particular language. But for us to process it, I need more CPU power, which is related to the hardware question. But for me to consume more and more data to better project a correct answer as an output, I need the models to work and the data to be very important. So the components, the language as a mechanism, it's become trivial now compared to the importance of data and the model. Yeah.
Any queries from the participant side? Kindly post your queries.
So one of the things I would urge the faculty members also to look at is what kind of knowledge you have to gain, whether it's through certifications, whether it is through to a lab where we learn it on a Google Cloud or a Azure Cloud. I would encourage them to start getting into that. Like I learned AI when I was the executive vice president. So I went through a training program to learn AI, understand Python, so on and so forth. So and my people taught me the different aspects of whatever I'm talking to you now. Yes, please. Can we go on to the next section, which is the responsible AI part of it? I think we have spent almost 22 minutes on this. Yeah. So AI risks. So now coming to the main core of what we want to discuss as responsible AI. I briefly mentioned about in my inaugural address about harm to people, an individual, and we have of course seeing a lot of stories in the social media about civil liberties, rights, physical or psychological safety, or economic opportunity. So we get cheated by certain things. These are risks which has to be handled. Harm to a group, such as discrimination against a population subgroup, and then society, what kind of harm it will create for democratic processes as well as educational access. So these are very, very serious issues at an individual level. At an organization level, it's about running the operation smoothly. Anything goes wrong, the operation stops, the business stops. Next, second is about the security breaches. So if you look at the way we have developed, we initially started with what I call as ISO 9000. It was taking care of operational efficiency of your organization. Then we moved into application development. How do we create disciplined application using programming languages, ensuring coding standards, ensuring testing, ensuring regression, so on and so forth, so that what the application delivered to the customer is flawless. That is how it is. Very simple, linear way of looking at things. Then security breaches are the new thing which started coming in. ISO 27001 came in, where they have a framework for security breaches and how do we comply with the security requirements of an enterprise so that you don't get hit by a malware, you don't get hit by a ransomware kind of things, because it will harm your reputation. It will create financial loss for you, and it will affect your business operations. Recovering from a ransomware took me, I sat in the customer premises for almost 7 days to recover the ransomware attack and bring the system back to what it was 8 days back. So it is a very, very painful manual process, and the guy who hit you with ransomware will ask you for money. And every day you delay paying him the money, every day the amount of data loss or the system stop working will increase. It is a very, very scary thing. I have personally gone through it, believe me. Harm to an ecosystem is, I talked about the simple example of supply chain starts in Japan and goes like when Sony had, they had a tsunami in northern part of Japan. Sony had their problem in terms of supply chain of monitors to be delivered to their customers. It was all stopped. Suddenly, the supply chain broke because of the tsunami. So that's why the dependency is very high on these kind of harm it could reach to an ecosystem. Global financial system is the other thing which is interrelated. Of course, the last one is natural resources, the environment and planet. All of us are talking today about EV cars. All of us are talking today about the high power capability of the processors which are coming out of NVIDIA or Intel or AMD. What we forget is when we deploy all these high powered processes, as we call it as GPUs, the consumption of power dramatically increases. That essentially is an environment threat. Same thing is EV, electric vehicles. 5 years later, when you have to change the battery, how do you dispose the battery is an environment question you have to answer today. These are things which will affect your natural resources, your environment, and the planet. I'll just leave it there. Go to the next chart, please. So challenges with AI systems. These are the real problems. So I start with the real problems first. Lack of transparencies. Today, AI systems operate as black boxes. When I say black boxes, people who have worked on Oracle systems will know what is an audit trail. Why is an audit trail required in databases? Essentially, to say when database fails, there is an append in your database. The audit trail will capture every execution of every SQL statement, and where it fails, it will actually store every instruction execution in a separate file. That is called the audit trail. So tomorrow, someone has to audit as to why this problem happened. Because when a bad job fails, it affects your payroll, or it could be affecting your loan processing, or it could be affecting so many other things in the banking operations or in a corporate operations. People have to find out why it failed and where it failed. It could be due to data, it could be due to bad code. So they create audit trail, and the audit trail is mandatory for you to be comply with the rules of the corporate, saying anything which goes wrong, I should know why it went wrong. We call it root cause analysis. So the lack of transparency in AI system is what the AI system does is it will pick up all the data and infer certain things. If you allow the AI systems to decide on the outcome, you have lost control. And it gives up a recommendation which you follow. You will not know why did it give the recommendation because you don't have an audit trail. Systems operate as black boxes. That was the first problem they started facing when there was lack of transparency in many of the AI systems which were delivered. Inadequate risk management is failure to identify, assess, and mitigate risk associated. AI is a black box. That's how it started. So we don't know how to be prepared for that. Audit trail was a very simple mechanism in database management. We don't have an equivalent of that. What makes it AI so complicated and why it is we call it challenges is because AI is not one single technology. If you take database, Oracle or Sybase or DB2, it's just one database and one SQL code you write to do something. Debugging is very, very easy, unidimensional problem. Whereas AI is not one problem. It depends upon where you got the data from, whom you got the data from, what kind of filtering you did, what kind of cleansing you did, and after that you fed it to the system, and the system does something you don't know what it did. Goes into a black box. That's the process. You have database, you have the inputs coming from external environment, you have the sensors and other input devices which takes the data, then you have the cleansing mechanism and the filtering and analysis to be done downstream for the data. Until then it is all visible, but once it goes into that, data is being used for analytics to say, okay, there is a problem. Every day we were processing billions of transactions for a company, for Morgan Stanley. We processed it and said every day morning 9 o'clock the system slows down, and we didn't know the reason where the problem was. All we knew was there was a blip at 9 o'clock and it cost the company loss of transactions which could cost them money. And they wanted us to fix the problem. It's not that the system stopped, it just slowed down for a moment and we just detected it. So we had to do the causal analysis to go and say where exactly is the problem. Is it hardware? Is it database? It is middleware? Whole bunch of things we have to track back to say this is what the problem is, and this occurs every 9 o'clock every day in the morning when the load is the highest. So these kind of inferences we make, but we did not allow the system to make it. We made the decision because it was business critical. So failure to identify, assess, and mitigate risks. We don't know how many risks are there like that. And bias and discrimination is very, very evil, if you ask me. Recruitment system can go wrong because the recruitment will say you can only recruit people within the age range of 20 to 25. You cannot recruit a guy at the age of 26. You cannot recruit, this is night shift, I can't recruit a lady. If you put such rules into your recruitment engine, imagine the harm you are causing to the society. Imagine the harm you are going to the particular individual. A particular deserving candidate loses the opportunity to take up that job. Recruitment systems are coded like that because it is a bias of the people who are designing the system. That is why it is important bias and discrimination are identified. It is not a system problem. You as a human being has incorporated that bias into the system and you have to avoid that. You should have proper checks and balances to avoid such things. Because some of the things you will do inadvertently. I talked about the blue and pink example because it didn't occur wrong to me when they asked me to do it. I just even didn't question the client, why are you doing this? But once I got out of the project and question, I felt this is bias, I said. So we realize it because it's naturally, what do you call it, hard coded into our mind that this is what it is. This night shift, I can't ask a lady to come to office. Those are hard coded in some people's mind. These are things which are to be.
Participants, kindly mute yourself. So let me check once again.
Yeah.
I hope so the person is muted. I'm sorry for the interruption, sir.
No problems. So then, of course, poor data management. This is a very, very big problem. I talked about it a few times. So, and the absence of accountability. This is a very funny problem. I don't know how you will solve it actually. Who is accountable for mistakes which happened? We had an insurance customer for which we had a problem. The system we deployed ran out of control. Instead of processing X number of policies, it processed Y number of policies because we made an error in the batch job which was running, which was processing the loans. Now, the bot we had deployed had AI embedded in that bot, and there was a problem with the algorithm. So everybody blamed the system, saying it went and processed the wrong data, it went and processed the wrong system. All kinds of excuses were given. Customer is asking who is accountable for that. As a service provider, I am accountable for it. On whom do I blame? The project leader says, I didn't know, sir, that the bot had a problem. We had tested it thoroughly. It never gave any problem for us. Well, it didn't give any problem when you tested it on 10 transactions. It gave a problem when it was processing 1,000 transactions during the night. That means that accountability of a system going behaving rogue is with the developer. So I'll come to that framework when we talk about it. This is accountability is a very critical aspect. Go to the next chart, please. So I'll come back to my original theme. Responsible AI is about more than just creating intelligent systems. It is about embedding ethical principles into the very fabric of AI development. Very, very important sentence. All of you should just internalize this thing. It is about ensuring that AI systems are transparent, fair, and accountable. It is about building trust in AI solutions that have the potential to empower organizations and their stakeholders. So the positives are huge if you do it right. The negatives are huge, equally huge if you do it wrongly. That's where responsible AI as a framework has to be deployed. We'll talk about it in the next chart. So the key pillars of responsible AI. I talked about transparency. Transparency is what I think. How do I trace where the problem lies? Is it in the data? Is it in the middleware? Is it in the application? Is it in the code? Or is it in the specifications you have given? So transparency means I should be able to trace the problem from one end to the other end. Very difficult in an AI system, but that is the requirement for us to be able to bringing a framework on responsible AI. The next one is privacy. I talked about the fantastic things Gen AI can do, right? We talked about ChatGPT can generate blogs, can generate stories, can generate novels, can generate images, build pictures. All that is fine, nice to hear, and we do it using today. But when it goes public, someone can sue you for getting into their privacy because you might have used some copyright material of that company, of that individual, of an artist, of a musician, it could be anything. Privacy is a fundamental right of the person, and that has to be safeguarded. And today, as an individual, you have no mechanism by which you can find out whether you did something wrong or whether you did something right until it goes public and someone sues you. That's a scary part of privacy. The last one is fairness. Fairness is just being unfair to certain set of people because all of us are biased towards certain way of thinking about anything which we do as a profession, as a person. It has to be redefined or it has to be rewired in our minds. The AI systems, if you rewire the AI systems, future people will not have biases because system will tell them what to do, and after the system tells the right thing, the bias will go away from your mind. Robustness. Why is robustness important? Someone should not hack your system. Is it secure? Is it resilient? And capable of handling exceptional conditions. When I say exceptional conditions, I talked about the insurance, the bad job which ran out of control. When it sees that it is handling more than 1,000 jobs, it says, oh, I can't handle more, you should give up and raise an alarm. That means exceptional conditions have to be handled, protected, and raise alarms so that manual intervention can happen to stop that disaster from happening. We do it today in chemical plants and other factories. When there is something which goes out of control, the machine is not able to handle it, it give up and say, help me. We need to build that in our software systems. Last but not the least is about human oversight. So put the human in the loop. Like someone asked, is the faculty, will they become obsolete? Is the inside meaning of the question I was asked, I understood. It is not so. We have to put the human in the loop, whether you are in the education vertical or in an industry like manufacturing or in finance. The way the processes will have to be defined is going to be different. When I say business process, it is like this. When Japan deployed robots in their manufacturing plants, they did not use an existing plant and started putting robots instead of the people. They did not do that. They did not replace the person and put a robo there. They created a new plant and defined the process according to the machines, which is the machine robots they had deploying in the process. So the whole process was redefined and then they put the robots. So it was a fresh greenfield plant they deployed and put the robots there. In fact, I went to a chocolate factory in Europe. There was only one person handling a factory where chocolate was being made. And one mistake we did in SAP system created a backlog of chocolate which could not be used. One day it was down, factory was closed because it produced chocolate which they couldn't use because the workflow got affected. Pure automation and AI problem. So I have visibly seen such things happening in a factory, and I know what it means. Today, what do we do when we say automate it? We say today it is done by 10 people, do it with 4 people, do it with no people. That's how we say, but we do the same thing again and again. That is not correct. Garbage in and garbage out is what we see in our language. Human oversight has to be there, and it has to be redefining a new process and see how I can run it from tomorrow with the help of bots. Thinking has to change, but the decision making will lie with that person who is supervising the behavior of the machine, which means a human machine collaboration will have to be established for us to be responsible in the deployment of AI. So it's not a technical challenge, it's a moral imperative. That's the most important message on this chart. Next, please. So this is again, I created the terminologies because they are interchangeably used, but it is wrong to use it interchangeably. Responsible AI is an umbrella term. Responsible AI is a framework for ensuring AI is used in a manner consistent with user expectations, organizational values, and societal laws. And look at the spectrum of things responsible AI means. It's just not about running your business correctly or meeting your user expectations. It's about the value you stand for. When Ratan Tata says, I stand up because I made a commitment, it's a promise, it's a promise, it's a promise, is what he said when he released the nano car. Societal laws and norms are maintained. That is responsible AI. So, what is ethical AI is one part of what responsible AI is asking us to solve. For AI to be trustworthy, it's a very, very strong word. Trustworthy is a very serious word, and measuring it is very difficult. Trustworthy doesn't happen overnight, it happens over a period of time. Should be human centered. That's an important. That's why I said in the previous chart that there has to be an oversight by humans, guided by ethical principles of fairness, inclusivity, transparency, accountability, and reliability. That is ethical AI. Responsible AI is a framework under which I'll operate to ensure that I am ethically correct. Explainable AI is your audit part. How do I trace whatever I am doing? I can trace it to say this was done by PRK, this was done by someone, this was done by someone, this is how the sequence of events happened, this is when it happened, this is where it failed. I should be able to answer the question who, when, where, how. W cube H, W3H we call it. Who, when, where, how. Explainable AI is being able to answer these 4 questions. That is how audit will come. So when you put the framework of responsible AI, we will see it, how the audit framework is being established. Please, next chart. So characteristics of a trustworthy AI system. So we are trying to make it as though the requirements, as you saw in the previous page, are very, very abstract and very, very difficult to translate into actual things on the ground. This particular chart tries to put some meaning into each one of those into actionable items. It has to be safe. I said we have to be resilient and we have to be secure and resilient, explainable and interpretable. This is for audit purposes. You know why you are doing this, who is doing it, when are we doing it, and where are we doing it. Privacy has to be enhanced. That means we respect the privacy of the individual, of the organization, of the ecosystem. fair with harmful bias managed. We have talked enough about it. Accountable and transparent. So this is are the characteristic of a trustworthy AI system. We talked about all of them. I'll just put it in one chart for you to internalize this to say these are the important aspect of the governance you will establish in an organization for creating a trustworthy AI system. So balancing of these characteristics is the most difficult job, and that's what we have embarked ourselves to be able to do it. Next chart, please. Now comes the responsible accountability. What are the leadership? So we are talking about deploying a responsible AI framework. Number one, actually, I should put the fourth bullet: form a committee of senior leaders who are accountable for the development and implementation. I should have put this as the number one point. I am saying the ownership and accountability lies with the leadership. Identify the committee of leadership. I'll actually make a recommendation who are the people who should be there in the committee. People who have worked in corporates and people who have gone through any of this process framework, whether it's ISO or whether it's CMM or anything else, ISO 27000 for security, they will understand what I meant by saying that there is a leadership team which is accountable for implementing the responsible AI within an organization. Developing an AI governance program on an urgent need at every organization. There's an urgent need. Don't wait. You can't say that AI is evolving, I'll wait for it to evolve and then develop this. No, it's already too late. It has to be done today. Organizational governance policies and processes will be needed to meet regulatory requirements. So most organizations will have policies and processes and governance already implemented to run their organization in terms of operational efficiency, in terms of security, in terms of financial discipline. So there are things which are already, they'll have monthly governance, they'll have quarterly analyst meet for the financial discipline. So all the companies, large companies, will have fairly decent governance policies and processes for things which have not seen AI yet. So I'm not telling that you should remove all this. Don't start from scratch. Create linkages to existing. If you look at the bullet number 6, create linkages to existing corporate governance. So if you already have certain governance processes established in your company, like risk committee is almost there in every corporate. It's a mandatory requirements according to our corporate laws. You will have process discipline, you will have project level or plant level governance dashboards, all that is already available. And security, cyber security is already there in most of them. So now responsible AI will have to now connect all of them instead of redoing or rediscovering all these things all over again. It is not important for us to redefine the whole, unless a company doesn't have anything, which I find it difficult to believe. I don't know how they are making money, how they are running a company. So linkages to existing corporate governance is important. Develop principles, policies, and guardrails that govern the use of AI throughout the organization. That is the new thing. So you have certain set of policies and guardrails and principles already done for financial discipline or process discipline or operational discipline. I'm saying for AI, you should start creating a new set of principles, policies, and guardrails. So just for people who will ask, where do I start? This is where you start. But before you start, be sure that you have got accountability very clearly defined. Finally, develop an AI risk triage. So you have a risk committee already defined, which will identify risks and monitor them and report to the CEO of the company, to the board of the company on a regular basis. Like a political issue could be risk, a natural disaster could be a risk. These are all monitored by this risk committee, and they will report out to see what happens if Chennai goes down. Will I be able to operate out of Bangalore or Delhi? These are things which we normally get asked by our customers, and we have well proven methodologies established today in most of the IT service providers. So develop the risk triage framework to say if something goes wrong, how do we recover? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Next. So this is just a recommendation. There could be different companies. Like I say, the board, the direction for the AI governance has to be driven at that level. The group ethics officer is normally at a officer of the company. Group CTO will also have CIO. The CTO defines the strategy, the CIO will operationalize it. That's why group CTO is there in this committee. Privacy officer for copyright violation, anything which could go wrong. Then security officer, which is for cyber security compliance. Then the compliance officer for the overall business operations compliance and other aspects of licensing, other aspects of employee uh, hiring, things like that. There are a whole bunch of compliance which he will be responsible for. So this is a recommended ethics committee, and it could vary from enterprise to enterprise based upon how they would want to give the officers different roles and responsibilities. Yeah. Next, please. So now we come to the last three charts is about the frameworks, responsible AI frameworks, which are already in vogue. I put EU AI Act as the first one because, unlike the other recommendation, this is a mandate by the European Union. The EU AI Act 2024-1689 lays down harmonized rules for the development, deployment, and use of AI within the European Union. One of the things businesses normally do is if they are going to operate out of Europe, they have to comply with the what they call the law of the land. We have to comply with what like ISO 9000 was mandatory for many of the companies in India to do business with European customers when we started the IT business. Similar to that, now EU has said that if you have to do business in European Union, you better follow the AI Act, which they have brought, and it is mandated. It is not guardrail. It is not a guidance or it is not a recommendation. You have to do it. Number one is about risk-based classification. The Act classifies AI systems based on their risk levels. The AI systems, what function they are doing, will determine what is an unacceptable risk. Systems that pose a significant threat to safety, livelihoods, and rights are banned. They're non-negotiable. That's what it is. So you can't have real-time biometric identification in public services. That's unacceptable. You have to have given the approval for if you go to the airport today, you are able to have face recognition systems there, which essentially allows you to pass through the queue system in the airport so that you can go directly to the security. You have given the approval. Be careful. You have given the approval that your face can be recognized and map it to your ticket so that you walk into the security cordon queue directly. Without your approval, you cannot go. Otherwise, they'll check your passport or your Aadhaar card for identity, and then only the secure manual intervention is there to allow you in. Just to give you what it means in terms of social scoring by governments and real-time biometric identification in public spaces. High risk. AI systems used in critical operations. I talked about healthcare earlier. I talked about law enforcement agencies and transportation. Must meet the strict requirements and undergo conformity assessments and before deployment. So transportation could be what you called as the logistics industry could be one. Police and law enforcement agencies could be another one. Of course, healthcare definitely is like if you don't give way to an ambulance, that you will be penalized for that. It could be an important. But if you are having an AI system deployed in a healthcare system, it's a life and death issue. So it is a non-negotiable high risk item. Limited risks are subject to transparency obligations, such as informing users that they are interacting with AI. And this is all of you are aware of when you enter a building. You say this particular building is monitored by cameras all over the place. So that's it's an obligation for them to comply to that requirement. You can't take my photograph without my approval. In very simple terms, that's what it means. Minimal risk. AI systems, minimal such as spam filters and AI-enabled video games are largely unregulated. Still some way to go on that part. So this is number one, risk-based classification under the EU AI Act. The next one is, go to the next chart, please. Obligations for providers and users. This is an important thing. This is where EU AI Act, why I like this the best, it has fixed the accountability. Look at the sentence. The Act places most obligations on providers, which are the developers, guy who developed the AI system. He is at high risk AI systems, requiring them to ensure compliance with safety, transparency, and accountability standards. So he's gone to the developers, which means a service provider like TCS is accountable for the AI systems we develop and deploy into our customer premise. We have to be very careful that, especially for the European customer, we will have to comply with this. Users, which means you and me are users of the system, are also responsible for it, because the reason being you may be using wrong data and exercising the system. Will that create any problem? But it's less stringent than the guy who actually developed the system. So I like this because he has mandated it, and the ownership is very clearly defined. The, the problem in defining it is fine. The problem is not about that. The problem is, how do you trace it to the developer that this is because of this that AI system created this problem? That's a technical problem which we have to solve. General purpose AI providers of general purpose AI models must provide technical document. This is like a typical what you would see in any ISO 9000 processes if you are well versed in that process. To provide technical documentation, you should provide instructions for use and comply with copyright directive. These are all mandatory. You have to do it. They must also conduct model evaluations, adversarial testing, and ensure cybersecurity. Just to draw a parallel for people to understand, that you do regression testing to ensure that it is able to take the load of the end system we are going to roll it out, that it is able to take wrong data and process it correctly. That means it will raise an alarm, or it will fail, or it will say, I cannot process this, you have fed me wrong data. That's what he means by saying conduct model evaluations, adversarial testing, and ensure cybersecurity protections of the models present at a systemic risk. Because cybersecurity is a systemic risk, the whole system comes to a standstill. But your application cannot introduce that into the system because you have deployed an AI system into it. So these are all the things which are mandatory for us to follow when we develop AI systems. The last one is prohibited AI systems. Act bans AI systems that deploy manipulative or deceptive techniques, because you are using your algorithms to deliberately do a wrong thing, or you are feeding data for the algorithms to do deliberately something wrong. That's called as deceptive techniques, manipulative, and subliminal. Be careful how you don't distort or impair the decision making. Someone asked a question about decision making. That is why many of the AI systems which we see today will essentially recommend. Then they ask for a human intervention to decide, is it okay? Can I go ahead with it? So they should not exploit the vulnerabilities related to age, disability, or socioeconomic. These are all serious offenses. So I like this mainly because it is very, very clear. There is no ambiguity about the way they have defined it. The EU AI Act aims to foster trust in AI technologies, ensuring they are human centered and aligned with European values and fundamental rights. So I think they have taken a very, very holistic view and a very idealistic view. And they also talked about what is mandatory at the ground level. They are not. There is no vague statements about what needs to be done. That's why I like about this particular framework. This is one framework of responsible AI. Let's go to the next framework defined by NIST, National Institute of Science and Technology. NIST. This is US based, US Department of Commerce. This was part of it. NIST was part of it. Developed the AI risk management framework. It's called AI RMF to help organizations manage risks associated with AI. So, if you look at this particular framework, it is uh, it is a recommendation. It's not a mandate. That's the difference between what I talked about EU AI Act and this AI RMF of NIST. It talks about establishes policies, procedures, and structures, which normally would do. It's called governance. That's the first step. Then it says map. Map means identify the AI system's context and map it to the data, processes, and environment in which they operate. So you have developed an AI system. Where does it belong to? Does it belong to a payroll processing, or does it belong to anything else which is critical to the business? All those things will have to be done at the organization level. So the responsibility has shifted to the organization. NIST has not mandated. That's the main difference. And then you should have a measurement mechanism. So when they come and do an audit, that's how they'll say, have you mapped every processes of the AI system you have developed to what is actually happening on the ground? Do you have measurement mechanisms for the outcomes of the AI system so that you know if something is wrong, it's not compliant, you will be having an alert. So this involves measuring various aspects of AI systems. I think you had asked questions on accuracy, transparency, fairness, and security. We covered all these things, but you should have measurements. How will you measure accuracy? You don't know. That's the problem. You know your business well to say that I'm okay with 99.99%. When we design availability of a data center, we will say 99.59 availability. That means we are guaranteeing 99.9999% availability of the data center in a year. That translates into a few milliseconds or a second in a year. But even if it goes down for 1 year, 1 second, a data center, for me to bring back the data center, it will take me a day. Nobody thinks about it. So it has to be meaningful measurement to which you commit whenever you say such things. So accuracy is a very important thing. Fairness is mandatory. No, it's non-negotiable. Transparency is important because when an audit happens for your systems, you should be able to track it. Where did it fail or why will it not fail? You should be able to justify it. And of course, security. The last step is, of course, manage. So implement these strategies, controls to mitigate identified risks, and ensure the safe and ethical use of AI. So if you look at this framework, you will understand that they have given you a framework for you to implement it the way you want it according to your organization. That's the flexibility they have given. They've given you guardrails. You follow this path. Don't go this way or that way. They have not mandated it. That's the fundamental difference between the previous one and this one. It's designed to be flexible, structured, and measurable, providing a comprehensive approach to AI governance. Okay, that is NIST. Next one, please. This is the last one. After this, I'm done with my presentation. I have 10 minutes left. 42,000 is the AI Management System Standard. See, ISO as an organization has been on this business for quite some time. So they go to the nitty gritty of any business. People who have gone through ISO 9000 certification, ISO 27000, understand it. It is a lot of paper. Of course, now it is all digitized, automated. So audits can be automated, program management reviews can be automated. So a lot of things can as change, and it is systemized also. Like now in TCS, we conduct our quarterly reviews on the system. Nobody has to prepare PowerPoints and Excel spreadsheet. So whatever the system brings up, we will have to be able to answer the questions of the data presented from the system. If you have fed wrong data in the system, wrong outcomes will come, and they will easily identify the problems with your data. So ISO 42000 2023, if you have to ask me, if is probably the most or the closest framework Indian companies can handle, because we are all very thorough about the ISO mode of establishing a framework. It defines the scope and applicability very clearly upfront. Size, type, irrespective of what is the size of your business, they said you have to follow. You cannot take exceptions. Again, it talks about leadership and commitment, and it talks about planning and risk management. So it has gone to that level of the operational level to define the standards. That's why I like it, because for an operations guy who spent my whole life running operations, I like it because it does not leave anything to guesswork or anything to your intelligence. It tells you very clearly what needs to be done. Go to the next chart, please. So this is last chart. So standard aims to balance innovation with governance. One of the complaints you will get from your people when you are running an organization is that, oh sir, this is all lot of documentation, lot of unproductive work which is not directly related to my coding in Python or testing my AI model. Why am I forced to do all these things? But it's got to be done. Only if you suffer, you will learn the value of these processes. They will ensure that you've got enough resources to ensure that you can create competency, create awareness, communicate the importance of this, and also document what is being done and monitor what is being done is the same as what you documented. Then operational control. There are controls at every point in time when you're running operations to be sure that you're following the guidelines and you're not going out of control. And including AI system. That's the beauty of this. They've embedded AI system into the whole operations. It is not as if AI system is going to be audited separately. Responsible AI does not say that you do only the AI systems to be governed. It says the whole enterprise has to be governed, and the AI system becomes embedded into your normal way of operation. We talked about the embedding of AI systems into your enterprise. It becomes the way you do your business. And continuous improvement, of course. They are not compromising on innovation. It is just in our mindset we think if you follow procedures, then creativity is lost, innovation is lost. I'm only following what is being told to me. That's all wrong. There is an improvement cycle always in any ISO process, and ISO 42023 is no exception to that. So they have covered all aspects of governance very comprehensively in this particular standard. With this, I conclude my talk for this session. I have 6 minutes left. I can take some questions, please.
The session is open for queries. Participants, feel free to express your queries. Either unmute yourself or please post the queries in the chat window. And meanwhile, Krishnan sir, can you stop sharing?
Yeah. No, let it be there in case any questions relate to the what we
Fine, fine. Let it to be, sir.
Yeah.
Participants, you can raise your queries, please.
So all these standards which I have put in three or four charts are there available in their respective home web pages of their respective organization. ISO has got it, EU has got it, and NIST has got it. So if people have to create course or do certifications on this, you have to visit those pages and you can qualify yourself to be an auditor or a certifying faculty.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Professor Vidya Priyadarshini, he has asked a question. Real-time data in healthcare sector is difficult to get. Is there any chance to train model without real-time data in healthcare? Can you suggest some ways, sir? Possibly she is working in that field.
So the healthcare system, the way we collect data, we have deployed it in 7 or 8 cancer hospitals in Tata Group across the country. It is true that we don't collect real-time data. We looked at the detection of cancer as a mechanism using existing data which we had collected from different hospitals, different patients, and to infer as to how can we make an effective cure for some of the cancer symptoms. It is not about curing it, I'm sorry, it's about preventing such occurrences. Real-time data can be had if we are allowed to gather the information from the instruments which are currently monitoring it. Today, we are not allowed to do that. But technically, it's a possibility. But compliance-wise, healthcare does not allow us. There's a HIPAA compliance we have to go through separately
Yes,
for that.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable information, sir.
Thank you. But we do train our models on available data, madam.
Okay, sir.
That's how we are working on the healthcare part of it. Data is available in abundance. There are some examples even in Mayo Clinic and case studies
And
of
sir, I have used the secondary databases available in online.
yeah.
But for training the model, the better way to train the model is getting the real-time data, right, sir?
Yeah, so it will be a very expensive process because you'll have to,
Yes, sir.
like Morgan Stanley example, I gave you 1 billion transactions per day.
Yes,
If
sir.
you have the LLM for them, it will be very expensive for us to do it.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Participant, kindly express your queries either by unmuting yourself or posting in the chat window. Okay, it seems that Vijayalakshmi madam cannot unmute yourself. So probably post your query, madam, so that we'll read it to the expert so that he will answer you easily. Meanwhile, I'll try to unmute you.
She says she's not able to unmute.
Yeah, I'll try to unmute you.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Kindly proceed.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Really, it was a wonderful session. I have a small query.
Yeah.
You said throughout the session you're talking about to make an AI model transparent and trustable.
Yeah.
So this is the motto actually because we have to, to make it as AI everywhere, we need to go with trustable and the transparent AI model.
Yeah.
So to do that, is it XAI is going to cover the 100% I can make with the XAI testable and as well as transparent AI model.
So
Can I?
sorry, can I
Yes, sir.
answer?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
important aspect of trustable and transparency, two important word you have used.
Yeah.
If whatever we do in an enterprise, like if you take TCS as an example or any of our customers,
Mm-hmm.
they don't allow us to take data outside of their network. So we work in a very protected network so that external influence of data is not there. Let us say that I am working for a retail customer and I am working for a pharma customer. That means Walgreens could be an example. I will not take data, any data from outside of the enterprise, only use the data available within the enterprise, and all the that assumes that the data I'm collecting is within my organization, and someone is going to certify it within my organization saying this data is trustable. So in those organizations, we have a separate data governance framework because we started with data governance and then only moved to AI framework. Data governance framework will ensure that someone is certifying it. So the accountability is with the data team to say this data can be used by you, and they give us, like as service providers, we take the data as certified by Walgreens saying it's good data. I can use it for my development or exercising my models. Correct? The development of the model that it has to be trustable is my responsibility, and it becomes my responsibility to develop the model and be able to explain. That's why explainable AI comes in. Explain that when I'm taking a decision or making a recommendation, why do you make a recommendation? I have to explain it as a developer of that AI model using the data which has been certified by my client. I'm just using deliberately I'm using the customer and the service provider example to say where the ownership lies for what. Very complex equation, but that's how it works today. The data is certified by my customer, so I can use it safely. The I will not take outside data, neither will my model take outside data. My model will be developed independently by me. I will exercise it against the data provided by my customer. And the results I get out of it or the recommendations I get out of it, I become accountable for it, which means I have to be able to explain how did I arrive at the decision. So I will make the traceability available at every stage of my training, training of the model. I mean, training of the model to say why did I make that recommendation. This is how it's a very painful process. It's not unlike coding. We have to be careful as to how do we develop the model to improve its efficiency from 60% to 70% to 80, and we'll get stuck somewhere at 90%, and we are not able to improve it anymore. We go back to the customer and say, please, sir, can you give me some more data because I'm stuck at 90%. then he'll give me some more data. We don't allow contamination of the data. That's a responsibility.
Okay.
Because someone has certified it saying it is Walgreens data, it's my customer's data. I'm not taken any outside data. And I as a vendor have to follow that. So it is a iterative process. It takes weeks together sometimes. It's like you do the testing in a software development cycle, it probably takes 3 weeks. Here we have taken almost 3 months, 6 months and all, because the volume of data will keep increasing as we want to make it more and more accurate. So, but trustable data is signed off by one party. The trustable model is signed off by another party. But what is also important is I should be able to show them the traceability of the accuracy I am giving as an output based upon what are all the things I have done.
Okay. So, regarding you're telling about some measures, how to measure like a transparency and all. So, here in this case, can you make it as something called as user satisfaction or the user acceptance as a one of no?
That will not be useful. User acceptance,
No.
user satisfaction will come because on a particular set of data it works well. User will be satisfied. But when I go to another user who is using a different set of data, it behaves different. That's a risk. That's the biggest problem we as AI developers will face.
Yes.
Your model will have to be developed in set. The algorithm you write or the model, or they call it foundational model because I'll develop a set of foundational models for my customer, and it will work only in that environment. Important thing, I can't take that model and use it in another customer. That is first not acceptable. Second, it will not work. That's why while you read about LLMs and large amount of data available, when I'm working with a corporate, I use only the corporate data. So to answer your question, it has to work for all the data sets available within a corporate. So my algorithms will have to be tested against each one of them.
Okay. Especially for the medical field, I mean, this XAI has to be, I mean, transparent as well as, I mean, have some kind of what things to be done.
Measurements
Yeah.
are essentially in terms of the accuracy of prediction.
Okay.
How often am I accurate? And if I'm not 100% accurate, is it okay? Is a question the human intervention. That means someone who is responsible for it should be able to make the call saying I'm okay with 90% accuracy or 95% accuracy.
Okay.
But medical field, I don't know the risk of it. But if you take a financial field, like I scan 1,000 documents and I make a mistake in one document, they will just ask you to redo that one document because they'll find the problem down the line, either in the SAP system or the Oracle, whatever enterprise systems they're using. The risk is very low, and it can always be recycled back, and we process the data again with the corrected data. How will things go wrong? It will go wrong if the data is wrong or your model does not process the data correctly. These are only two things. So you fix the accountability. One is the guy who is providing the data, one is creating the algorithm. These are the two accountable persons. So they have to figure out how to ensure that accuracy of the output can be measured. That's only a measurement. I can't rely on user satisfaction or customer satisfaction.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Okay.
Yeah.
We have other set of queries to be addressed here. We'll
Yeah,
go one.
she's saying.
Can I read?
Yeah, yes, Surya.
Yeah. We have a query from Shanti, madam. I'm reading the query now. How can educational organizations' operational process, such as student data processing and evaluation system of students, come under responsible AI system? How can educational institutions move on to responsible AI system?
So just a correction in the question first. It is not about you move into a responsible AI. You have an educational system which is having AI as part of its application. You have incorporated AI capabilities into your system, right? Like let's say you are evaluating the marks of the students, you are correcting the question papers automatically using AI and evaluating the answers written by the students. How will you make it transparent? You will look at every question and make it do samples of 10 students to say, I have been transparent in the sense I am not biased by who wrote the answer. I will not give you the data of the students, whether it's a boy or a girl, whether it's 10-year-old or a 15-year-old. I'll just take the output given by the student and evaluate it. So that's the system you have developed. Responsible AI is essentially a framework which will be used to ensure that yes, you did follow the principles of transparency, principles of bias and being unbiased and being fair, and you did provide an accuracy to say that my students' papers will be corrected with 80% accuracy, 90%. It will be contractually you will commit saying I will correct it with 95% accuracy. That means 5 students can be recycled. That means you will sample continuously to say how many errors did the AI system make in correcting your papers. This is I'm saying instead of faculty correcting the papers, the AI system is correcting it. Just to give you an example of an application which you can develop for correcting student papers. So it is not about responsible AI being responsible for it. It's about the AI framework you have developed to make the system transparent, make the system unbiased, make the system fair, and make the system accurate. That is how AI system has to be developed. Education is only a particular process which you're going to use, a business which you're going to use it for. I've also seen a question by using an education AI education training, which is the best tool, best. So I don't have a bias towards any one of them. Yes, Microsoft is something. Microsoft and Google are and AI, AWS are used by most of the people from a educational training perspective, and the tools which come along with these three cloud providers are definitely very good. It's a personal thing about where you want your career to go, because some of the customers have adopted Azure as their focus. Some of them have assumed Google as their focus. So based upon your career choices, you can decide I'm going to focus on Azure only, because focusing on all three is very time consuming, and you may not prepare yourself for that. Look at the opportunities and then decide where you want to get trained, and there's not much difference between them. If you can do one, you can do the other. It's just a matter of time and opportunity. Use of synthetic data in healthcare come under responsible AI or not? Okay, again, I want to correct the use of the term responsible AI. Responsible AI is, will responsible AI in your organization allow me to use synthetic data is the question. Synthetic data in healthcare can be used for non-intrusive diagnostics. That is, if you are going to use it for decision making of critical patient system requirements, you may want to think about it. But if you are going to, let's say, you are going to do a blood sample for million people and you want to create synthetic data of the blood sample, it is okay to use that for your AI model development. So it's not under responsible AI. You are saying your responsible AI framework has said it is okay to use synthetic data in the following circumstances in the healthcare field. That's what your framework will recommend. If it says don't use it for your ECG records, don't use it for your X-ray records of a particular organ, then you cannot use it. Synthetic data cannot be used. For certain things which they feel, because the healthcare experts will know better which synthetic data can be used, because synthetic data has to be bought, it costs you. You'll buy synthetic data for your testing. So responsible AI is the framework, and you will make the organization will make recommendations to say that I'm okay to use this particular thing. Retail, lot of synthetic data we use. We buy data to test out. So can we say XAI is an example of responsible AI? It's a question. I didn't understand. Can someone explain me? What was the question?
Dr. Soni Shweta, could you please unmute yourself and explain your query?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, explainable AI is also deal with the transparency and regulatories and all.
Yeah.
So, is it we can say that XAI explainable AI is an example or come under the responsible AI or
It comes under the umbrella of responsible AI. You are right that way. It comes
yeah.
under the umbrella of responsible AI, except responsible AI is much broader in sense, in terms because we are trying to define a framework under which these variants can come under. No,
So all the regulatories, ethics and all
absolutely.
mainly focused by the responsible AI.
Exactly. So it's an umbrella term. Under that, you will have regulatory requirements. There are contractual requirements. There are use of synthetic data could be a requirement. Everything will come under that because the framework has to be broad based and should be actionable. That means you should be able to actually do something about it. You can't put a policy saying you can't use synthetic data, then you will not have enough data to test out. So there are going to be restrictions. So when will you use synthetic data is the question you have to answer, not whether you can use or not.
So can you suggest some of the research topic for this responsible AI, like
Responsible
some
AI,
research?
responsible AI, if you look at it as a research topic, it is, I just want to be clear about where I'm missing the point. Responsible AI is a framework under which you will develop, deploy, and use AI systems so that you don't do anything which is wrong to the individual, to the organization, or to the society at large. That's what responsible AI is all about. If you have to do a research on it, you can probably do research on a particular domain, like you say healthcare. Then you
Okay.
can define what is it I should be researching on. Is it about the data? Is it about the models? It is about the opportunity. When I say opportunity, is it about a particular problem statement in healthcare? Whether it comes under responsible AI is questionable because they are bucketed under three headings. No, one is data, one is about the model, one is about the domain. Uh, uh, so responsible AI per se does not lend itself to research. What lends itself to research is the mechanisms of deploying responsible AI framework in an organization.
Thank you, sir.
Participants, if you're interested in raising the queries, kindly please raise your queries.
Any challenges? I think someone has asked this question, Dr. V. Meena. Any challenges might face by the organizations while implementing transparency in their system? Absolutely. That's the most difficult attribute or characteristic, as I call it, to implement in their system because there are certain things which could be confidential, there are certain things which could be not under their control, and on top of it, you also have to ensure compliance to regulatory requirements. So it is not challenges; they are difficult problems to solve, but they have to be solved. Unfortunately, you can. It is non-negotiable because transparency is about traceability, right? You have to explain why did you do certain things and how did you take this decision. If you are a doctor, you decide that I have to go and do a liver transplant for this patient. It's a decision made by the doctor. He becomes responsible for that decision. Now imagine a situation where the AI system used by the doctor says you have to do liver transplant for this patient. Can the doctor say the AI system has taken the responsibility? I am not accountable for it. Can it say that? Not possible. Only thing doctor can find out is why did the AI recommend that AI system recommend that liver transplant has to be done for this patient. You should understand the decision points under which this particular decision was arrived at by the AI system. Look at the scenario. You actually have a twin. You have a doctor taking a decision, you have the AI system taking a decision. It's called digital twin. The digital twin is the AI system of the doctor. It makes a recommendation. Now, doctor has to either overrule it or support it. For him to support the decision, he has to be able to explain it. That is explainable AI. Transparency is about able to explain how does the decision, how did the AI system arrive at the decision. Very interesting problem, but that is what is all about transparency. We have to be able to explain why a system decided to make the decision. And if the doctor overrules that decision and the doctor's decision becomes wrong, he has to explain why did he overrule the AI system. So the questions and the answers are quite complex. We need more insights and research into it to understand the complex problems of this particular topic, responsible AI. I would urge all of you to read related. All of them are easily available, and all of them are available for public consumption. I would request all of you to go through it. I'm sure the subsequent sessions will cover much more detail on each one of these topics, and so that it is helpful. So this has taken me around 3 to 4 weeks to prepare the presentation, but the presentation is the lesser part of the problem. Presentation is to understand why certain things are designed the way it is, and that has taken some learning to do.
Sorry for taking more time than the plan is here. Because of the
No.
query session, it was getting prolonged. So I think we can conclude at this point. In case of further queries, please post to our email IDs or in the chat, which will be consolidated and sent to Krishnan sir to get back with the responses. So I think formally we will conclude the session. I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank Krishnan sir for enlightening and engaging session today. Your expertise and deep understanding of the subject matter were truly valuable, and the content you delivered was both thought-provoking and informative. The way you presented complex concepts with a clarity made it easier to grasp the key takeaways. I'm sure that the knowledge you shared will be beneficial as we continue to explore and implement responsible AI practices in our respective domains. Once again, thank you for your time and effort in delivering such a wonderful session, sir. And we are very much privileged to have both yourself and Dr. Keshavasamy, sir, for the constant support that we get to PSG Tech. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for giving me this opportunity. I really enjoyed it. I hope all of you found the session useful. And please go back and study much deeper into this particular complex subject. It is very, very exciting to go through this particular subject. Thank you so much.
And the PRQ, many professors have reacted in the chat box that they like your speech.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir.
Thank you then.
So we are formally closing the first session. Thank you, Krishnan sir and Keshavasamy sir, for joining with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best for the remaining one.
Thank you so much, sir.
1 minute.
Yes, sir.
Today in an IEEE meeting, incidentally, today